welcome to the video. So obviously we're still here, and it is March 23rd, 2025. For this video, it's going to be somewhere between a prediction video and a bit of decoding. We're going to tear through a lot of material. I'll try and make this fairly short, but yeah, we're going to be looking at what we can expect in the next few days. To a week if we're here that long. If you can't tell, I still believe we're going to be out of here very soon. But yeah, before we begin, I'll just read a quick and simple gospel. John chapter 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And that's all you have to do. All you have to do is believe in him. It doesn't matter how good of a person you've been in your life, or how often you've gone to church, or even prayed, or given to charity. The only thing that matters is believing in him and his sacrifice on the cross. That is the narrow gate. That is the narrow way that leads to our salvation. It's a free gift, and all we have to do is accept it. Okay, so we're going to go over to the notes here. So we have a fair bit of notes, but I'm going to try and tear through this. I'm not going to try and make it so this video is not as long as the last two at the very least. So the first thing that we're going to look at here is we're just going to go over a couple assumptions. So let's grab a sip of coffee here. I've had a fair bit of coffee today, so this should work hand in hand with getting this video done quickly. So the assumptions that we're going to go on is we are in the last moon. So with this symbolism, I'll pull this up actually. I'll see if I have this in the... I should have a good picture for this here. Let's see, the last one. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So this is shown at the end of Leave the World Behind. This is your the last moon. So they use coffee generally to represent the moon. As you see here, we have a red background and then a blue coffee. So there's your two aspects of the March moon. Blue on the old Roman calendar, and as most of you know, it was a blood moon. So we're going to go on the assumption that this is our last moon, which I still believe is true. So last moon. And then we're going to go on the assumption that we have passed our last moon phase, which is the third quarter moon, which happened on March 22nd. I think I got Moon Giant up here. I'll just pull that up. So there is, I believe, our last main moon phase. So let's look at the moon. Pull the moon phases up here. So right here, March 22nd, I believe that is our last major moon phase. Get those out of there. Okay, and what was I going to say here? So we got our last major moon phase, and I'll show you why that is here. So if you look at their symbolism, the most prominent thing here that we see a lot is we have the third quarter moon and the blood moon. So as you know now, we've passed that. So I believe that this is just a time marker that we've passed. I know I've said that before. However, I don't believe that we're going to be making it to the next month per se, and I'll tell you why. So the first thing I'm going to talk about here is that, well, this nodal, the enemy don't eat their own. We'll cover that later. But the first thing that we're going to talk about here is my first point here. It's not dark yet, but it's getting there. So for me, I don't get very many words from the Lord. When I do, I definitely remember it. It sticks in my mind, and it's very, very prominent. And when I received them, I received a great deal in a very short period of time, and that was October 2024. I think September to October, I received a great deal. And when I received them, they didn't particularly make sense to me, and it's only now that they're kind of becoming to make sense. So one was the words to I whenever I receive the words, it's like the first thing I hear before I wake up. It's that was it's not dark yet, but it's getting there. So these are the lyrics to an old Bob Dylan song. I believe the song's called It's Not Dark Yet. So we're going to go to that here, actually. So Not Dark Yet by Bob Dylan. So I went and I looked at the release date here, which was August 25th, 1997. So I pulled up or actually, I don't think I have the Moon Giant here for that. Let's go August 1997. So I'm going to need to put in the moon phase there. So, of course, it was released on a third quarter moon. So for me, that was very, very interesting. In the context of it's not dark yet, but it's getting there, I think for me that felt like it meant once we've reached this kind of moon phase or this point, that's kind of telling me that we're very close. Because if you've been following some of the stuff I've put out for the past week, I've had so many different confirmations throughout the day, just in what I've seen, like the strongest concordances I've received for the video lengths, just a lot of confirmation. So I have very little doubt that this is the we're very very close to that time period. So for me, this is kind of like the stepping off point. Like it's not dark yet. Like the for dark for me, the connotation for that seemed like tribulation. So it's not dark yet, but it's getting there. So as I've said in a previous video, I believe the departure of the church will coincide with the beginning of the tribulation. So I think for us, that's going to happen somewhere in this time. And in this video, we're going to talk about where exactly that's going to be. So I think for the most part, this was, or let's go to the rate. Oh, sorry, this is not even the current month. I forgot. But yeah, so we'll go back to the current month here. So I believe like the 923, the 1024, 88, I believe all of those numbers have occurred right in this time period here. And now we're kind of on the 1 yard line per se, with I believe 29 or the March 29th here being our backstop, as staying within the quote unquote last one. So I believe we're still going to see that departure of the church right within here. And within this video, we're going to narrow it down a bit more than that. So let's go over here. So the next point we're going to look at here, this one's pretty interesting. So Aquarius, Julian date in Leave the World Behind. So we're going to pull up a video here by Brother Dana. So within this video, what we're going to be using here is essentially just two scenes. So if you've seen Leave the World Behind, they have this scene where they show you a lunar eclipse, and you could tell it's a lunar eclipse from the perspective of the moon. So in the very next scene, though, gets even more interesting, is you have, what they're showing you here is the constellation of Aquarius. And behind the Aquarius constellation is Julia Roberts' character, who I don't even recall the name of. But so what we get from that is we have a lunar eclipse, and then Aquarius, and then I believe Julia Roberts' character frequently represents the Julian conversion or Julian date. So we're going to pull up Stellarium here. And we have, this is pretty well, I believe this is real time. This is where we are right now in Sagittarius. So we're going to move forward a couple days here. So on the 26th and 27th, we are in Aquarius. So what would be the relevance of that? So if we applied our Julian conversion, assuming this is the Gregorian date, our Julian conversion would take us back to the 13th here, right where I believe I have, okay, our blood moon occurs just as the 14th begins. So going forward 13 days from that takes us right to our Aquarius. So I believe what we're being shown in this is this is the time frame within the movie. So for context within the movie at this point, the little girl Rose, who represents believers, this is the morning she disappears, and then like everything goes off the rails. It gets pretty terrifying in the movie at this point. But I think the context that we're looking for is now the believers have disappeared, and the tribulation has essentially begun. And I think that is the time frame that we're being shown here. So if we go to Stellarium here, so that is our 26th to 27th. So for me, I believe that at that point we're being shown that the believers are gone and now the tribulation has begun. So that helps us to kind of bracket in our time frame a little more. So we have our third quarter moon here. This is our last major moon phase. And then right in here is where we're in, or 26th we're entering, and 27th we're in Aquarius. So within that context, the believers are gone, the tribulation has begun. So another interesting thing is like, I wasn't even going to include this in the video, but now that it's on my mind, I'll just include it. So this is a Wednesday, so we're going to pull up this movie. I forgot how to spell Wednesday for a second there. So Big Wednesday. This is very, very interesting. So let's pull up the movie poster here. And I can already tell this video is going to be much longer than I intended, but the coffee's flowing, so we're going to keep moving fast here. So, Big Wednesday. A day will come that is like no other, and nothing that happens after will ever be the same. So, for the longest time, I believe this Big Wednesday, which is being referred to, was the October 2nd eclipse in 2024. I believe that kind of started the major countdown because that occurred on a Wednesday. So I believe that was the quote unquote Big Wednesday, as I don't think they're ever direct enough to make something like this where if this is where the tribulation begins, then you have Big Wednesday. It would be very direct. I don't think they work in that kind of simplicity, but like I definitely could be wrong on that. So I think for me, that's a very, very interesting point in that if we go back to our kind of calendar moon phases here, if we've eliminated that as like being potentially the day that believers are gone, then this could be the quote unquote Big Wednesday. Because if you have these events where the church is taken and then you have your kind of like second 9/11 style event, that would certainly make for a pretty big Wednesday. So yeah, this is where I'm kind of bracketing in the time right now. So yeah, very, very interesting, and we'll touch on more points as to why I think like this won't count, or this is not like what we're going to be looking at. So we'll go back here. So the next thing that we're going to be looking at, these are a little unrelated, but they still help us like look at the time frame. So we're going to look at Journey. So we're going to pull up Journey here. So if you haven't seen Journey, definitely take a look. I've done, this is a fantastic video for decoding. There's a lot going on. So in a post I made, so I kind of decoded what we're being shown in this scene. We have a red, so this is the old man's looking out the train window. And we have a red train here, blue train here. I don't really know what color that is, but those are our two moon elements right there, our blood and our blue moon. And so then if we move from the foreground to the background, we have three, one moon, and then four kind of looks like comets, but as the trains are moving away, the comets are coming down. So that could be church goes up, missiles come down. I believe that's what's being shown there. And the interesting part for this scene is actually going to be the crescent moon here. So I'm going to make the assumption that this is just on the wrong side and it's reversed and it should be over here. And in that would kind of coincide with the time frame that we're looking at here, which would be, I'll still consider today. So we go from like the 23rd to the 26th, like that is the waning crescent. And if we get the closest one to that, that would be probably the 24th or 25th. So that's very interesting. I think they're showing you a lot in this scene. I think they're showing you the date of the blood moon, the pi blood moon. With the 314, again, I think they're showing you the third quarter moon. And then this could be perhaps like the main event day or moon phase for that. So I've always loved this scene. There's a lot going on within it, and it's very aesthetic. So yeah, so we covered that here. So that again kind of helps us to bracket in that time frame. The next thing that we're going to look at here is I'll do the Simpsons first. I'll try and remember to come back to that smile too. So we'll pull up the Simpsons scene here. So I'll just play this scene actually.
Blood is raining from the sky.
Okay, so what they're showing you here is obviously this is the sign of that represents the sign of Jonah, the only sign that the generation will receive, 3 days and nights of darkness. So that's representative of Christ being in the ground for 3 days, 3 nights. But in what they're showing you here, I believe this is like showing you perhaps the grid down situation, or grid or communications down, kind of like your leave the world behind situation where there's yeah, you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But the one thing that kind of clued me into a time frame here is the whale is this. You can tell me if I'm reaching with this here, but I believe this is showing us a moon phase. I believe that's kind of showing us the waning crescent. And if you kind of like spin the whale to the left there, that is our third quarter or waning third quarter moon phase. So I believe that's what we could be being shown there. And again, it is still the blood moon. Like we're still in March.
Hang on there, big fella. We'll save ya. This ain't personal. I just love to scrimshaw.
I don't even know what that means, but
Judgment Day is at hand.
so Judgment Day's at hand, and then 3 seconds of dark screen. So I believe that's kind of like your 3 days of darkness being referenced there. So you have that moon phase, Judgment Day's at hand, lights go out. So I'm not going to talk about the order of events I believe which will happen. Like you have Nebuchadnezzar, the 3 days of darkness, then the church goes up. I'm not sure how that all kind of is going to coincide. Maybe I'll talk about that in another post or video. But yeah, again, that's kind of like bracketing in exactly where we're looking at. The next one's very interesting. I've actually had this in the back of my mind for a very long time. Excuse me. So we're going to pull up here Smile 2. So this was released on October 18th, 2024. Budget, 28 million. There's our 8-2, 82nd day of the year in reverse. 127. I think I did remember something with this earlier, but we'll just keep it simple and maybe I'll make a post later. But the big thing we're going to be looking at is the poster here. So I'm sure you can see it right away. You have the kind of waning third quarter crescent, obviously a blood moon because the blood's dripping there. And then you have, it's the last thing you'll see. So very, very obvious symbolism here. And this always kind of stuck with me because I wasn't sure if this was a rapture reference or if it was a destruction reference, because with that you can get like a connotation of both. But I like to believe that all of their symbolism ends, for the most part. I think iPad Go 2 goes well into the tribulation, but I think the bulk of their symbolism ends when the church is gone. And then after that, like, you're just going to have to kind of figure it out on your own or look back at symbolism. But yeah, so that's, I believe, our kind of like waning crescent of our blood moon. So it's very fitting if this is like, it's the last thing you'll see. So very, very interesting. And I'll pull the date calculator here. I think I have one actually. So we have the release date here. We have, brain fart there, October 18th, 2024. And then we're plugging in, I put in, you can get a few different things with this, but I put in March 27th, 2025. So let's assume this is our sudden destruction, the church is gone. So that results in 160 days. We're going to pull up 160 in Strong's here. This gives us sudden, unexpected. How funny is that there? Not funny, but sudden. That's our 1 Thessalonians 5:3. Sudden destruction right there. So that's an interesting correlation for sure. So yeah, I believe you can get, you can definitely get a lot more out of this. I'm doing a very brief kind of overview. Maybe I'll make a post about it later, but I believe there is a lot of information contained in here. Even within the movie itself. Like, I hate horror movies, so I don't think I'll ever watch this, but maybe I'll give the trailer a watch and see what I can get out of that. But yeah, that one's interesting, and that was always in the back of my mind, because if the church departed on the third quarter moon, like, what would the reference, so the relevance of that be? So that's pretty interesting. We're actually making pretty good time here. So we're gonna look. Next thing we're gonna look at is current events here. So we're gonna go to the Ukraine peace talks here. So I believe Monday is where you're gonna have that where they're having that big kind of peace talk where I believe there's representatives of Russia and Ukraine, and they're in the same building but different rooms. I'm sure all of you know that this is just all a show. If you understand how the world works, it's like all of this is very pre-planned. Like, every leader's pretty much friends behind closed doors, and this is Satan's world. This is not ours. So that's how that goes on. So it's all, what did Shakespeare say? The world is all the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players, something like that. But yeah, that's essentially the gist of it. So yeah, that we have our peace talks on Monday there. So it's going to be very interesting to see when we're going to have that. I've talked about this earlier. I kind of disregarded it for the third quarter moon, but I believe when they say peace and safety in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3, that's not going to be a notion of peace, but it's going to be signing a peace deal. It's going to be a very tangible, specific moment in time. So it could be very interesting to see if we're going to have that within this time frame. it's very difficult to say. The one thing that's also been stuck in the back of my mind is people who have had dreams of, how do I say this without getting censored here? uh, an explosion in a foreign country, and there happen to be peacekeeping troops there. Uh, a few people have had dreams and visions of that. So for me, I try to think of how that could fit in that puzzle. Uh, how quickly it would take for that sort of troop to deploy. If that would happen within like a span of several days, because I believe that will happen before the sudden destruction. So it's interesting to see how that would fit together. Things would have to move very quickly. Like we would have to have like your quote unquote peace here, perhaps a peace deal signed here, and then like troops are deployed within the meantime. Not saying that has to happen, but there has been dreams regarding that. I do believe it can happen very, very quickly. Like, let's go Ukraine peacekeeping. They've been talking about this for about like a week and a half now. Probably longer, definitely longer. UK will next week accelerate plans for Ukraine peacekeeping force. So that was 2 days ago. So I believe you could just definitely deploy peacekeepers in like no time at all. As they're like already located in Europe, you could have them over there in a day. So I don't think we're gonna put too much of a time contingent on that. I believe that could just coincide very quickly with that, and the fact that they're talking about that peacekeeping force, that just coincides with the visions a lot of people have had. So yeah, I believe that could happen in a very short period of time. So I'm not gonna say that like just because we're looking at a period of 4 to 5 days that would be out of the question. I don't think it's out of the question at all. That's just something we're gonna have to watch. Like for me, following this has been like very, very easy, just because I'm not looking at every single prophecy. Like I'm not looking at Damascus or the bow of Elam. I think a lot of that we're not going to see. I'm mainly looking at like the ones we are going to see, and that's mostly just from like First and Second Thessalonians. Like we're not going to see the man of sin revealed, the great falling away either. That'll happen after we're gone. That's kind of like the connotation within that verse. And then when they say peace and safety, like the reason Paul told them that is because they were going to see that. Like that's kind of like the context, not them specifically, but the church, which would be us. So that's something that we are going to see. So I don't even remember where I was going with that, but yeah, I think it's very feasible that we see that within this time frame, as within the context of their symbolism. I think if we pass that, we're just like outside. Their symbolism doesn't matter anymore at that point, because we've the last one wouldn't mean anything, and then all their blood moon symbolism wouldn't mean anything. So, and then the third quarter moon, and we had so many different confirmations with that, just from different numbers, and like the Lord even confirmed it with me. Like I was essentially told throughout the week that I was correct, like in my dreams and just what I saw throughout the day. Like I had one post where I talked about I had a dream with all of those numbers kind of swirling around, like 923, 88, 1024, and then I was told all of these numbers are the same. So what that told me is like, yeah, that was all that same time period, and we've just passed it. So now we're on the 1 yard line, I believe. So gonna be a very, very interesting week, definitely. So we'll go back to notes here and we'll see what else I have. So this next part is gonna seem like very morbid, but just kind of like bear with me. It's gonna make sense here. So yeah. So what I did is this morning I went and I looked at, so there's two baseball teams. That's really the only sport going on right now. Actually, no, there's basketball too. I could have confirmed that as well with basketball. Maybe I'll do that after. But essentially, the point of this is I went and I looked, where are these teams playing? So we have the New York Yankees, and then we have the New York Mets. Okay, so those are the two teams in New York. Their stadium's about 14 miles apart from each other. So as you've seen in kind of like our Back to the Future decoding, New York is essentially going to be ground zero for this major event whenever it does happen. So I believe that I did make a point earlier. I said they, meaning the enemy, don't eat their own. So from my understanding, and I'm from most people's understanding, all of these people, they're essentially all Freemasons. They might not have a hand in the plot of what's going on in the world, but essentially they have enough of a foot in it that they're gonna receive like in Leave the World Behind. The I forget the black character's name, the black father. Essentially, all he had was kind of, and his friend who he talked about, all they had was a heads up. And I think that's all these people really get. They just get like a heads up. So what I did is I knew that these people they take care of their own. They don't eat their own for the most part. Joan Rivers, I don't think I don't think she spent her whole life in the club. But I looked where these teams were playing, and there's a period. I'm gonna go over here. So I made another point where these teams are playing and when they're away, when it could happen. So I'll get rid of that one here. So the Mets and the Yankees are both obviously New York baseball teams. They are on the road up until 27th here. So everything before then, they are in spring training and they're playing in different areas. The Mets are away until like early April. The Yankees are away until this date right here. So this date right here, none of them are in New York. Let's pull up I'm not a basketball fan. Maybe this will blow my whole theory away, but like, I'm curious. Okay, so New York Knicks, that's the basketball team there. So let's take a look here. So March 30th. So here they're at wherever the Bucks are. And then March 30th, they're home. So again, that's in like we're 3 for 3 right now with these New York sports teams not being in the area until this date. So call that a coincidence, call it whatever you want, but I know these people don't eat their own, and the fact that none of their teams are even in the area for a period of, I think it goes earlier than this, but we have like a 4-day period where not one of those teams is in the area, so that's interesting within itself. Again, this, like I said earlier, this is a very morbid point to be going over, but I think it matters because these people are not going to do in their own buddies. So for them being absent for this is definitely telling. And I looked a little into April, and that's when all the teams are home and they're all like, nothing really lines up in the same way it does in like this period. So for me, that was interesting. Yeah, that's the second to last point I wanted to cover here. Throw the Knicks in there too, so they're all gone. But the last point I wanted to cover is T. Coronae borealis. So this is a blaze star. Let's pull this up here. Excuse me. So this thing was supposed to go off in like October 2024, and this is another one of those things which I have like no real tangible reason why this is important to me, but it's always just stuck in my mind as being important. Like I was very excited around like the Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, October 2024, when they had that wedding ring eclipse. Like I thought that was gonna be it because you had like record-setting hurricanes. Like the Earth was just going nuts. So I was like, this is it, we're going. And for some reason, this seemed like incredibly important to me because that was going to go off that time period, and it hasn't. Which is, if you look at the news here, it's very unusual. So they have now, will the blaze star explode March 27th, 2025? I have no idea how they have a way of telling this, but for them to be off like 6 to 7 months is like definitely telling. Like they don't really know as much as they think they do. But for it to be going off now potentially at this date is incredibly interesting because that just fit with everything else I was looking at. As we have Big Wednesday. My buddy Mike, I always bug him. I whenever it's Wednesday, I'm like, happy Big Wednesday, bro. Like, I just kind of like, he's my atheist buddy, so I always give him like I leave him little jabs and notes here and there just to, maybe one day he'll clue in. Like, but yeah, so if this is our Big Wednesday and this is our blaze star going off, like, it would make sense if the church departs and then like the Lord leaves a sign in the stars. Like, it would kind of seem like unmistakable. to some. So I think that would be kind of like a wink and a nod that could be left behind, but incredibly interesting that like this is like potentially the date of this, and it's like 6 to 7 months delayed. So yeah, everything for me just like fit within this time period. I think we've passed like the bulk of their symbolism, which was like right in here and then right in here. And there's nothing I'm looking at right now that points to any of these dates. Like I've looked at the calendars, and nothing seems to line up really with any numbers I'm looking at. But I think that's deliberate. Like I think for most of their symbolism, as I said in a previous video, everything's one or twice removed, or even I don't think they remove anything 3 times. Like there's nothing encoded in like 3 separate like gates per se, but I think 1 to 2 always. So you can never point your finger at a specific date. So if they encoded like a ton of dates in here, this actually could be twice removed. So we have 923. That's once removed is it means the ninth constellation on the 23rd day. So that's right here, and then remove it another time. So that's not actually the date. It's just like the dates that follow that, and like all the dates pointing here are not the actual day. So that would be twice removed. Being 314 pointing to our third quarter moon phase. That would be that right there, and then it would be like I don't know, twice removed. It sounds like I'm talking about relatives, but yeah, I can't find anything pointing to the dates in here, which is like I don't think there is going to be actually. Like I think it's going to be. This is again the importance of leaving these kind of things behind. Like for when I make these videos now, I almost feel like instinctively like I'm not making these for the church. Like I'm making these for people who are going to be left behind, who are going to have to figure this out retrospectively, which in a sense I think is going to be easier because if you have that date, you can just like work in reverse from that date. I think it's going to be easier for them than it is for us, like working forwards. But yeah, that's kind of pretty well everything I wanted to cover in this video. So again, like I still think we're like right on the 1 yard line here. It's going to be incredibly interesting these next few days, especially I'm going to be watching how the peace talks go today, or not today, sorry, tomorrow. So that's going to be very, very interesting. We'll see how it all plays out. I think we'll know pretty early on because, like I said, like their symbolism doesn't matter past this point. Then it would just like it would be totally discounted. But I think everything still just falls right in here. If we have our quote unquote last moon phase, we're on the bubble now. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how it all plays out. I'm not discounting these days here, but I'm looking specifically right here. Maybe Big Wednesday. Maybe Big Wednesday will truly be that Big Wednesday. Difficult to say, but yeah. We'll see how it plays out there. I'm sure I'll make like I'm gonna be spending the week with family a lot, and I'm gonna be fairly busy. So I just wanted to get this video done because I don't think I'm gonna have time for another one for at least like a few days, and I don't. Maybe we only have a few days, but I'll still put out a ton of posts. So that's kind of the main thing I'm putting out lately is I'm just kind of like spamming posts, but I think they all have like a lot of very good information. So definitely check out the posts for sure. But yeah, this is probably my last video for a little while. Maybe my last video ever. Who knows? Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments on the posts there. And as always, please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. God bless you. Thank you.